Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of my interview with Melissa Bernstein. Let's hop right in and get to it, ladies. Are you in a new season of your life? Are you stuck and searching for clarity so you can make a career change? Do you just need the courage to switch careers? Are you ready to follow God's plan for your career? Welcome to Choose Your Next Yes. Hi, Kindred. I'm Mel, a career transition coach, mom of grown-ups, coffee lover, and God girl. I've had a lot of big life changes, and I haven't always been clear about God's plan for me. This led to stress and anxiety and a lack of clarity and courage to make a career move. I finally started listening to God's voice to find clarity and peace and stopped being scared to make a move and achieve my career transition goals. Now, my mission is to help you learn to listen to God's voice and know when to say yes to the career you've always wanted and no to everything else. Let me show you how to clarify your purpose and find courage to pursue your personal and professional goals in your midlife and beyond. Throw down your self-doubt, dust off your dreams, Kindred. It's time to reset and refine and reclaim the woman you once aspired to be.
I think, as women, we tend to be pleasers and do what society expects of us. Mm-hmm. So we haven't been maybe ever in the role, especially in my generation, which is your listeners' generation. No one's really ever said to us, what do you want to do? What do you think your, as you said, I call them passions, your passions and talents are, that intersection. Like, what do you want to bring out to the world to serve humanity in this next phase of your life? So the first thing you need to do is literally try to turn off the clamor of the outside world and get really quiet and just begin to sit with the question, who am I? Mm-hmm. What do I think I might want to do? And just become aware. And what I would suggest is keeping a journal or, a piece of paper or whatever you want to write it on your phone, and start to take note of when something feels like it's stirring your soul. Where are you? What are you thinking? And when you think about like what I can do with my form of self-expression, whatever that is. And if you can't think of it, what I like to do too is think about when others compliment me, what are they complimenting? Because I think as women, we're taught not to even think about what we're good at or to call attention to ourselves. And I know I could never tell you what my strengths were because I wouldn't even want to go there.
Exactly.
But when I think about how others compliment me, that's a really good way to start. When people say, wow, you have such a gift of blank, or wow, when you do this, it's so incredible. So think about how your friends, your real friends, your authentic friends or your family members, what they would say about you. And that's a great way to start to hone in on what you might want to do. Because I think it's very hard to start to go from the inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, my dogs. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Sorry. Shoot.
My little fireplace keeps kicking on, and I got a phone call just a second ago. Like everybody wants to talk to you when you're doing an interview, so it's all good. We're totally fine. So, if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, I'm Jewish, and the Talmud, which is our sort of laws, basically says if you save one life, you save the entire world. And to me, those have been my words to live by. And I think my purpose here is to help others find their purpose and find their meaning. And I do it one person at a time. I have no need to touch millions at the same time anymore. I love nothing more than connecting with one person and hopefully showing them that they have the power within to transform their lives and make meaning. And I try to give them some of the skills that helped me to do the same thing.
You are like the perfect first guest host to have on my show. Like your words are so prophetic, and I think they are really going to touch my women and give them some courage and help them move forward. Like you said, it's all about the movement one way or another. And we hope it's forward moving, but definitely you just have to take that first step.
And I think even before the movement, it's really important to just get quiet and to allow yourself something that you've probably never had in your life as a mother and a caregiver and a partner. You probably have never had the time to just be present with yourself.
Yeah.
I know that I had no idea who I even was until my midlife, when I finally took the time to start to go inward. I mean, I didn't even know I had emotions and how to feel. So I think a lot of women from, our era really weren't taught how to feel and how to, listen to their own voice and how to engage in self-care. I thought self-care was indulgent. I think so many women do. So I think even before taking that big move forward is just allowing yourself the time and space and luxury of just, we could say doing nothing, but really it's the ultimate in everything, because you truly need yourself to become empty of any voice but your own.
Yes.
In order to start to even think about, what do I want to do? What do I want to spend my time engaging in?
And I think one of the things, as I was growing up, I know that like women were really starting to try to get their voice out. And, we kept hearing things like be boss mom and like move up, join the boys club and that kind of thing. And so I think that's kind of maybe where that happened, where we weren't able to feel those things and be vulnerable. And I think now, Brene Brown is very much, she talks about being vulnerable and really feeling your emotions and it being okay. Like you said, I don't think we think it's okay. And we had lost our identity because we were somebody's mom or we've been somebody's wife. And even as an educator, I remember going to Walmart one night and I was in there shopping, and one of my students saw me and they were like shocked that I was at Walmart. I'm like, yeah, baby, I got to buy toilet paper and milk and all the things too, because they only knew me as Mrs. Vandevort and at school. And so, you don't even have your own identity in that way. Like you are something else other than who you are. And so, like you said, sitting in that, figuring out who you are.
Because really a lot of even what we decide we want to do might not be our own voice. It might be the voice of society, our family, even from childhood, telling us what we need to be, not what we want to be.
Right.
So for me, I had to turn off that external feed that kept telling my ego, like, you need to do this and you need to be this. And even for myself now, I've realized that it's not about the masses at all. Like for me, it's about one person at a time, which is a big deal. Like, because society doesn't value that. Society says you need to do a TED Talk. You need to reach millions. You need to be on that national stage. And my soul tells me, that's not you, Melissa. So again, it took a long time to be able to really hear that authentic voice. And I think deny ourselves the opportunity for that might mean we're going to jump from the frying pan into the fire and not necessarily do what we authentically should be doing.
Right. And sometimes, like you were talking about all of the failed toys, but they maybe weren't failures. They were just weren't successful at that moment. But sometimes women can be like, those failures can taint your thinking so badly that you feel like your identity is wrapped up in being a failure. And it's not. It's just you have not succeeded in whatever it was. And maybe you just needed to keep going,
Yeah. So I would encourage you. And if it's hard for you to look at your failures, which it was for me, I mean, a lot of women are perfectionists, which, by the way, is not conducive to a healthy life because we are perfectly, beautifully human.
Yes.
And that's our beauty is in our imperfectness. I would encourage you to look at a failure from a long time ago that you can look at maybe with perspective now and really try to see it for what it was and get that ability to extract the lessons from it.
Yes.
So if you can look at something like, for example, I didn't get into the sorority I wanted to in college. And it broke, I had a breakdown. It was that horrific in my life. But now that I look at it, I was trying to be someone that wasn't even remotely me. And the girls in that sorority were doing me a favor. They were basically saying, Melissa, like, you are not us. Like, you shouldn't be wanting to be with us. And ironically, there was a sorority that really wanted me. I rejected because I didn't think I was them. But the truth was, like, I would have met my best friends there. They were exactly like, so now if you can look at these things that you might have, your ego might have labeled as failures, if you can look at them now for the lessons, you'll start to see that these things we call failures are really, as we said, life's greatest lessons.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm going to ask you, I know you have a book and then of course one coming out, but if you would recommend to my audience a book that it is the book they need to read, what would it be?
Absolutely. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Okay.
That is, if there had to be one book that changed my life, it was that. That set me down the whole path of meaning because I was in a meaning crisis from the time I was born. And that book changes so many people's lives because Viktor Frankl was stripped of every dignity known to humans and his whole family was exterminated. And even in the face of circumstances that were completely untenable and beyond his control, he still found a way to make meaning. When I read that, I thought, if he, in those circumstances, can still find meaning, then I surely can, because I am not facing those circumstances. And I think that's what that did for me. And his whole philosophy, which is called logotherapy, is now I'm studying it. It's really changed my life.
That's amazing. I've joined a couple of Facebook groups to get a feel for my women, midlife, their kids are moving on. And some of them are just so broken that their kids are adults now and not knowing what to do. And like, you can still, whatever the circumstance is, there is some good that can come out of it. And you
know what it is? It's fear.
Yes.
And sometimes it's easier to bemoan what we can't do and cling to the past, even though we say we don't want it. It's a coping mechanism that makes us avoid having to deal with the terror of the unknown.
Right.
So again, I would encourage these folks to sit with their feelings and be able to say, I am terrified of the future. Like, I have lost my identity and I'm terrified. And if you can sit with it, because part of becoming authentic, when we deny and resist our emotions, we actually deny ourselves. It's literally the worst thing we can do.
Yes.
Because we're saying, like, I don't accept you for feeling this way.
Right.
So when we can label our emotions and say, I'm really scared about the future, and allow those emotions to run through us, we were starting down the path of authenticity. Yes. So I think the first step is just to admit that, wow, I'm in a really tough place right now, and have some perspective. And then you can begin, if you can admit it and say, and to also accept that I can't continue to involve myself in my adult children's lives, because that is going to hurt our relationship going to impede them from becoming independent adults.
Right.
And it's probably going to make them not want to have you in their lives if you just keep trying to get your meaning through them. So know that that path is not a great choice. And you're going to have a much better relationship if you can allow them to be who they're meant to be.
Exactly.
And, right? So it's accepting the reality of the situation, knowing that it's terrifying, knowing that many have traveled that path before you, and with deliberate intention and a practice to practice now becoming your own self, right? Becoming a true, authentic person.
Yes.
Pathway forward will enable you to live a bountiful life.
Yes. And for me, having adult children, the dynamic is so different. I feel like I need to help my women look for the good in every situation instead of focusing just on my kids are gone, I don't know what to do with myself. Look at the dynamic you can have with your adult children now. Like, I love having conversations with my children, adult conversations with my kids, because it's so different. I have some grandkids, so I still get the little kid stuff in there as well. But, it's just amazing.
But I think it's important to admit that it's going to take work. And I think what many people, it was so easy just to fall into this role of caregiver and mother. And it was a reactive role. You didn't really have to do anything. It's just you responded to whatever they needed. Right. You don't have to have a lot of volition. You're just reacting in a moment after moment after moment. And now is completely different. Now these women are going to have to do a lot of work. And I think that is a choice. You know, again, I would say sort of existential philosophy would say we have to now take responsibility for making meaning in this next chapter of our lives.
Yes.
So the first question that they have to answer is, do I want to play the victim? Do I want to wallow and say, woe is me, and stay stuck in the past? Or do I want to take responsibility for making meaning? And if the answer is no, then they will not get out of there. They will start to slip further and further, because we are meant to find meaning. And we are spiritual beings who need meaning in our lives to be fulfilled. So first off is really asking the question, are you ready to do some work? And if they're not ready, then they have to sit with that for as long as they need until they can say, you know what? Because the pain of where they are has to exceed the work they're going to have to do to change. And until the pain is so great that they don't want to face it and they're willing to do the work, they won't get out of being stuck.
Right. And my suggestion for that is to surround yourself with people that will help you. I actually left that one Facebook group because they were bringing me down. I'm like, I can't even read this stuff anymore, because that is not who I am. And I don't want to taint my feelings and my thoughts by being around something so negative. And so surround yourself with people that are going to push you and help you get out of that and take you to that next step. And surround yourself with people who are not just your, it'll be okay people. Surround yourself with people that say, I'm going to kick your butt if you don't stop this, because you're ridiculous. And I have people in my life that do that with me. I have someone that I work with, and she is amazing. And we are really hard on each other. And like, we are straight shooters. And that's the best way to be.
So
sometimes
you have to want to change, and you cannot force anyone to change. Change is a decision that you make. And until you're ready to say, I want to change, I'm so disenchanted with the way things are that I am willing to do the work I need to do to change, nothing will happen. So I think, and those folks, all you can say to them is, I know you don't believe it, but actually the choice is yours.
Yes.
And when you're willing to make it, I'm here for you. And
Exactly.
that's what I do with people in my life, who are resistant to change. I say, it is your decision. I know you don't think
Right.
you think it's just the circumstances. You are choosing to remain entrenched in despair.
Yep.
And you have a victim mindset right now.
Yes.
So again, I think that first decision, that's why you have to get really quiet and you have to say, do I want to live a life of despair and stay stuck here?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I want to change, knowing that it's going to be really hard? There's a lot of fear involved, but I can get to an incredibly beautiful place.
Yes.
And the minute you say, I want to do it, then everything starts.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like you said, you just have to want it really badly. And
you have to want it really badly. And a lot of people say they want it, but they're not ready.
Right.
They're like, but I don't want to be this way. It's like, well, but then are you going to make the choice to be different? Because it's going to involve a lot of soul searching and going inward and learning to accept your emotions and learning to really listen to yourself and not cling to the past.
Yeah, exactly. So what is one question that you wish I'd asked you, and how would you have answered it? Sorry to put you on the spot, maybe.
We touched on it a little, but maybe I would say, you mentioned, Melissa, that you didn't have meaning in your life. What enabled you to find meaning?
Mm-hmm. We did touch on it, but what is, like, if you think back, struggling to start a new company, and what is the one thing that helped you keep going?
I think for me, the most important thing that changed is my mindset.
Okay.
And, I think this can relate to a lot of the women who you work with, because my mindset when I was younger was all negative. It was all cup half empty, that I'll never find meaning. I'll never find people who accept me authentically. I'll never do anything that will leave a legacy. It was very, very, very negative. Mm-hmm. And again, I think I was so terrified of trying and failing that I tried to doom everything, right?
Yes.
If I try to be friends with someone and they reject me, I'd rather just doom it all. I'd rather say I'll never find anyone, because then I don't have to try and potentially be rejected.
Right.
So it was all a coping mechanism to avoid really trying. And I realized, pretty late in my life, that mindset colored everything. When you are wearing dark lenses on your glasses, the world looks dark. And as I started to accept myself as imperfectly human and realize that all my authenticity was what has allowed me to have these amazing relationships now in my life. Whereas when I was Miss Perfect, I had no authentic relationships.
Yes.
I started to, my lenses started to get clearer.
Yes.
And I think I've developed a completely different mindset now, which is that, despite the pain in the world, I can still make meaning and I can derive lessons from even the most painful experiences. So no matter what the circumstances, instead of seeing everything as negative, I can find the value in everything. Mm-hmm. That I am fallible, and finally accept that humans are, as we talked about, imperfect. And I can share those lessons and those examples of my being imperfect and forge more authentic relationships by doing that. And then I think lastly, sort of this fear of death and leaving a life without a legacy used to just terrify me and almost paralyze me from wanting to do anything. But now I realize that our potential finiteness, whatever you believe in, but the fact that, I don't know where we'll go, but the fact that this particular life will end at some point, our life on earth, should only be a motivation to, really squeeze the juice out of every single day. And instead of using that to prevent you from really living life, it should be the opposite. And you should just try to live in the moment and make the most of each day. So I've really, and it's a practice. Like
Yes.
I am at my core kind of negative and very pessimistic, but through practicing the opposite, I've really changed my whole perspective on life.
Well, I never would have guessed that you were a negative person, like at your core at all, because you are like both times that we've talked, like you seem very happy and very sure of things. And what I was thinking as you were talking is some of that stuff just comes with getting older and having experience and a different mindset. And I am at the point now where I'm like, I got some gray hair. It's okay. Used to, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I've got a gray hair and that kind of thing. And, it's all of those things. You're just like, things just become, you can let things go and be okay with it. You can be okay with gaining a few pounds as long as your clothes still fit. And you can be okay with, all of the things. My house, like I used to be like, oh, everything's got to be exactly where it's supposed to be. And right now my table is where I'm working from and it's covered with office stuff. And that is life. And I'm okay with that. That's the best way to be, I think. Just be okay with things and move forward. Definitely.
Yes. Exactly. You said it. You're a beautiful gift to these women. And they're so fortunate to have you.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that. So, Melissa, how can our listeners connect with you online or however you want them to connect with you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to respond to anybody who writes me. I'm melissa@lifelines.com.
Okay.
And I love people to reach out. I really connect with everyone who reaches out to me. So that's one of the joys and the ways I find meaning each day.
Awesome. And I will definitely put your email, your information in the show notes. I always make sure I get everything in the show notes for my listeners so they can connect easily. So is there any last thing you would like to say or anything that I didn't cover that you would like for me to, or you would like to put out there?
I think just having faith that if you make the choice to live a meaningful life and to do the work, I promise you will find it. It's right within you. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of changing your focus from looking externally and being one particular role to rediscovering the fact that you have so much potential in you to be a whole different, bountiful multitude of roles.
Yes. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and to my listeners today. And I'm a little bit jealous. Here in Missouri, I don't think it's ever going to warm up. It is still freezing cold and it's almost April. And you have like this beautiful water behind you and it just looks so warm and inviting. I don't know if it's warm there or not, but it looks nice. So
yeah, we're in the Northeast, so it's got a chill in the air, but the sun, I can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a little warmer here today, but like it has literally been freezing temperatures here still yet. And my son, he's a senior in high school and he's like, they scheduled spring break incorrectly. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, they always wait till it's warm. I'm like, no, babe, it's the same week that it always is. It just isn't warm yet. So yeah, so everybody's feeling the pinch of winter and we're ready for
this
some
is
warmth.
When you start to, in late March, it's like, enough already.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Welcome, Mel. This has been a pleasure. Thanks for all you're doing to help people.
I appreciate it. Ladies, I hope that this interview was a blessing to you. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please hop over to Apple Podcasts or Apple iTunes and leave me a rating and a review. That way I get bumped up and can be seen by others. Also, if you know someone who would enjoy this content or needs to grow as a Christian woman seeking clarity in her career, her purpose, and everything that God has in store for her, then please send them my way. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a show. And as always, may the Lord bless and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he lift you up and give you peace. Bye-bye.